Welcome back to SwitchCorner. My name is Alex and today we're taking a look at NERF Legends and I'll be breaking down here my opinions on the title, how it plays, looks, runs, and then whether it's going to be worth that cash, because this one it's coming in at near AAA price point. I'm going to give you a bit of a clue here, it's definitely not, so hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here. Join our growing family and let's get started. It's a story and it tries to bring a little context into this world, which I definitely appreciate. At a high level, we find ourselves in a future where Nerf guns, they are all the rage, and trails and championships are kind of the game of choice. The story, it's basically following our progression from rookie to champion while introducing you to a smaller cast of characters and coaches along the way. Harmless enough stuff honestly, and it at least adds a sense of progression, which I definitely appreciate. The gameplay then is this arena style first person shooting that tasks you with completing a set of objectives. These typically revolve around gunplay, so taking out enemies, and then also environmental puzzles, which for the most part it seems to be shooting a whole lot of buttons. Sadly though, each level my experience far too long, too repetitive, and it feels way undercooked, like a prototype experience not yet ready for release. So the frame rate then, first of all, it's targeting 30 but struggles, and once there's more than a few enemies on screen it's going to tank a fair bit. Basically it's rarely stable and leads to the gunplay feeling extremely sluggish and unresponsive. You get that feeling of there's always a slight delay. Not a good thing either, but the dumb AI at least balances things out. My go-to tactic, run around any structure I could find in the world. The game couldn't cope with this tactic and didn't know where to aim, and that was my main exploit of choice. It's so strange honestly, very little here feels right or like you would expect. Let me give you a couple of examples. You can slide, so basically duck when moving, but you can't standing still, which negates any opportunity to be strategic. Likewise, you can jump or double jump, but there's no animation or option to climb up a structure if, let's say, you reach a ledge, meaning there's a whole lot of trial and error to, around what you can actually traverse. It feels like you can see where the ideas started, but they never actually finished or implemented them to a state that would be considered complete. Another interesting opportunity then, special items around the world, spring pads that bounce you around. It's kind of cool, but it destroys the frame rate, and often it bounced me actually to locations that I should not be. An example, I landed on a cliff edge and shot enemies from behind who didn't know how to react because I was essentially outside the game world. At this point I should have fell to my death, I did not, and I was able to kind of clear this location. The worst experience I've had so far, in fact, was involving these as well. It wanted me to shoot switches while flying through the air. That sounds like a great time. It's not when the frame rate's struggling harder than ever, and they didn't even implement gyro, surely a worthy inclusion in moments like these where precision is required. Again, look, it feels like a concept, an idea over a full release. The package though, it's got a couple of modes, single player and online. There's some collectibles and almost trophies built in, achievements. The story definitely has content though. There's a number of locations, each with multiple stages, and my experience was these stages were around 30 minutes each. That was a surprise. Multiplayer on the other hand, dead on arrival. I haven't been able to find a single match now, and I presume there's no crossplay. Just for clarity, the game's been out for full release now for at least 2 to 3 days. I want to go back to one point here again as well. They didn't add gyro controls to a game that would no doubt see its best sales numbers on the Nintendo Switch. As someone that runs an Xbox channel and a PlayStation channel, there's just too much competition there for something so mediocre like this. The likes of Call of Duty, Sniper, Battlefield, Far Cry, countless more polished experiences. On the Switch, not so much. The main competition here, in style at least, would be Hypercharge and Box, but that game has had absolute love poured into it with constant updates, a great frame rate, and it's maybe half the price at most. Cashing in on a name though is always a concern, and for me that's exactly what this is. Minimal effort, rely on the name for sales numbers, and hope no one catches on. I've already seen a few comments on the channel as well highlighting they made a mistake by picking this game up because there was no kind of advanced copies to get coverage out. The final part then, customization, guns, all that good stuff, the area a game like NERF Legends should absolutely excel in, and again it's not the case. First, the character creator, you can choose male or female, and then add one of 6 visors, 8 heads, 9 haircuts or 9 outfits. A whole lot of them as well, gotta say, look extremely similar. Guns then, you can get skins and upgrades, which are kinda cool in a way, but it's not the make your own gun I was hoping for. Also then, surprisingly, the selection's not huge either. You'll need to complete levels to unlock them, and upgrades they charge what is an in-game currency. That seems to build up very slow though. 2 full levels in, it allowed me to unlock 1 upgrade. I did also notice then though on the main menu, it's kind of this weird hallway of sorts that you walk around. It says DLC coming soon. I'm hoping this isn't paid, but I've got a feeling we can expect add-ons including bundles of the same currency in the near future. If that is the case, it's an absolute joke. This is a weak effort though, but I think the biggest statement I can make around this one, I've got very good at forcing myself to complete bad games. At time of recording, in fact, I'm approaching 400 reviews here on the channel. I could not though force myself to get through this one. A few levels in and I told myself that's everything I need to know, and yeah, it just is not worth my time. Visuals and audio then were bundling together. We get some generic music, which is fine. The weapon sounds are creative, and they had to be because NERF darts don't really make a whole lot of sound. And then there's even some voice acting. It's probably the highlight of the game, honestly, even if the world, it can definitely sound a little empty at times. Visually though, it's a mess. The game made me think maybe that one beer I had the other night got me drunk, because on turning on the game, it's about as pixelated and blurry as they come. Low texture details, extremely sterile design for these locations, and yeah, the moment I knew this was going to be rough was when they started the second level, and it was just kind of like fog by design, and it just looked absolutely like messy. Even selecting guns, your characters, there's a seriously low resolution to it all, to the point where even handheld doesn't really rescue it a whole lot. My favourite though has to be the shield, that combined with the low resolution makes it near impossible to see around you. That's especially true when it's actually low on energy and it starts flashing on your screen just to really annoy you. Maybe a positive for the visuals, the animations on enemies, they can be nice I guess, and the gun reloads, they're pretty cool as well. That is really about it. NERF Legends is a disaster and an insult of a price point. It feels like a concept of an idea that should be the starting point of the build now. You know, this is where they add the fun to it, the cool guns, the customization, the stable frame rate, the enemies with AI, the variety in the objectives, the gyro controls, the ability to duck without sliding so you can play with some sense of strategy. Instead, we get none of that. Go spend $50 on near anything but this. It will be in the bargain bin before you know it. How go buy a real NERF gun, it will definitely be more fun. Just don't punish yourself or someone you know by adding this to the library. Game Mill have had some decent little games recently honestly, but this is not one of them, and no score from me today. As I said, not completed the game, but hopefully this video gives you a very good idea of my personal opinion. So normally here I'd ask, will you be adding this to your library? Instead this time I'm urging you not to. That said, it's been out a few days already. Has anyone already picked it up? If you did, how do you feel about it? With that then, like a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. It helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.